Check 1 2 1 2.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who happen to follow the Twitter account and saw that we were going live at 7:15 Central, Psych I lied. Psych I lied. We're live now. So without further ado, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you may find yourself as you listen to this, and welcome to the podcast that wants to salute the Nuggets for going 4 for 4.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I do my thing
Mm.
here and there. I do my things here and there. You tuned into another episode of It's a Black and White Thing with A1 and A Ward. I'm one half of the dynamic duo A1. You can call me Dan. I'm also a black man who does a podcast with A Ward. You can check us out on every episode of It's Black and White Thing by going to the podcast app of your choice, wherever you find a good podcast. Getting into the podcast by searching It's a Black and White Thing or at Brains and Bars. You can check us out on YouTube right now as well by searching at Brains and Bars. And that same handle applies to our Facebook, our Twitter, and IG. And as you can see, I don't do this show by myself. I got the good homie A Ward in the building. What's going on with you?
What's going on, y'all? It is good to be back. We're just watching a commercial for Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey versus the Splash Brothers golf coming up in Vegas. So I just got back from Vegas, and then I look over and see Vegas. So I think that's a sign that I should probably return and go watch that happen. So maybe that'll happen.
That actually would be pretty dope, though.
Yeah.
Actually, go see them. I mean, I've never been to a golf event, so
Yeah.
So, I think that would be pretty cool to actually, if that would be my first time going to check one out, I think that'd be pretty dope.
Yeah.
All right. So, got an interesting show lined up for you tonight. We got obviously NBA Finals talk, got a little bit of NFL gambling talk, and we want to talk a little bit about Dame Lillard. Dang, I forgot to do one thing. I'm going to see if I can do this while we have this conversation.
All right. Good.
All right, so let's get this started. Let's start obviously with the NBA Finals. Denver Nuggets wrap up a phenomenal postseason. They win their first championship in NBA franchise history. What is that? They walked them.
They walked them down, like you said, every time.
Walk them down. We're going to
Every
get to
time
that.
you
Absolutely.
The Heat were going to take off. They got walked down.
Absolutely. Salute Mama Ward in the building. Hope you're having a great day. Yeah, so NBA Finals wrapped up, NBA season wrapped up yesterday, at least for the 2022-23 season. Denver Nuggets win their first championship, 4-1 over the Miami Heat. And I mean, first of all, I want to salute Miami. This has been a stellar run for them. No one except for them and maybe their fans thought that they were going to be in this position of being NBA Finals. It's been repeated ad nauseum during this entire run. They were down 3 to the Chicago Bulls, 3 minutes left in the play-in game. That was the elimination game to face the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. And from that point on, it has truly been this is probably the greatest. This is the greatest Cinderella run since the Knicks in '99 when they made it all the way to the NBA Finals, and I believe they got swept
by the Spurs.
It
might have been 4-1, but either way, gentleman's sweep or sweep. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's one of the two. Two. So I mean, it was an incredible run for them. You are right. It was a gentleman's sweep, I believe. I'm just looking this up right now. They were able,
if I'm not mistaken, I think I remember reading that they were the first 8 seed to win an away game in the NBA Finals or something. So I'm guessing the Knicks won.
They won their home game.
They won a home game. So yeah, it was they were the first 8 seed to win an away game in the finals or something like that.
Yep. So magical run. And I feel like this run, I would have to go back and look at the Knicks history on their run to see if they had if they took down a 1. It was a 1, a 5, and a 2 on their way to the chip. So I don't know if the Knicks necessarily collected that many impressive teams that they knocked off along the way. But I mean, Miami
was the Spurs a 1 on the other side.
I'd have to check. I have to check on that. Let me see if I can find that out real quick.
Because Denver was the 1, right? So there was technically
Denver
a 1.
was the 1. Denver was the one on that side. This is Basketball Reference. It's not what I want. I'm looking for the wiki page on it. Yes, the Spurs were the number one seed in the
Yeah.
Western Conference on their side. So yeah. So I mean, history kind of repeating itself in that way, and
Mm-hmm.
and much like this series, back in '99, this was just a team that was overmatched. And again, I know they were like, we're tired of hearing about our 3-point shooting. We're tired of hearing about us having 7 undrafted players on the team, but guys, like I mean, I don't know why you would be tired of hearing that. I get it. They're NBA players, they're quality players, but it's shocking. You shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have beaten Milwaukee. You shouldn't have beaten. And to me, this is a testament to the mental fortitude of this team. And yes, to the incredible shooting. So I want to bring the stats up. So because last week we talked about this, that at this time last week, that the Miami Heat wave, that's what I'm going to call the trio of Martin, Robinson, and Vincent, were shooting 43% from 3 in the playoffs. Had they been able to win the championship, they would have surpassed the Splash Brothers with KD and 17, who shot 41% when they won the championship, right? So they shot 43% to that point. Regression, we talked about that last week as well. It finally happened. They came crashing back to earth. Now, overall in the playoffs and in the finals, that triumvirate shot 41% from the field. And in games 1 through 3, they shot 41%, 63%, and 50% respectively. But in games 4 and 5, they were 4 for 22, 19% if you round up, in the final 2 games. And that in part was part of the reason why they lost. But also, this is where I give the kudos to the Denver Nuggets. They were an incredibly resilient team. It did not matter what happened. It did not matter the lead that a team built up. At some point, they were going to walk you back down. And I have to look this up. I don't know if Denver had a double-digit loss the entire playoff run. I'm not sure. I'm actually going to look this up live. I'm not sure, but I mean, what do you want to say about the Denver Nuggets while I look that up?
Well, what I do want to say is that I think this is one instance of, you hear this term in basketball all the time: live by the 3, die by the 3. And if there is an instance, this one is it. NBA Finals. I believe I was told this weekend that as far as the spread goes on the over under, 12 of Miami's 13 playoff wins, they won the game and they hit the over. So, they won the game and they hit the over because they were hitting 3-pointers at a 45, 60, 57% clip, and so that's basically how they win their ball games. It wasn't, like in the first game where they said, oh, we're going to force Jokic to dribble 6 or 7 times in the paint and make him pass. I mean, those are good ideas, but at the end of the day, they won, the games that they went crazy from 3, and then they lost the games that they didn't. And what's wild is, like, I believe in game 4 ended up being what? Maybe like was it a couple games that were like close.
Game 3 and game 4. Game 4 they pulled away. Game 4 in the finals they pulled away. I think
game 3 and game 5.
Game 5 was relatively close. Game 2, the Heat, the only game that they won, the Heat. Again, they were up by 9 with like 3 point with about 3 minutes left.
Yep,
and then the Nuggets stonewalled them down the stretch, and then they had a Jamal Murray 3. I feel like game 1, it got a little tight. Remember, they had a big lead. The Heat got it down to probably about 8 or 9, but they couldn't get it any lower than that, and they ended up winning by 11. And I am looking this up. They did not have a double-digit loss this entire run.
Yeah, and I mean, all of the final games were within a couple possessions. The Heat didn't. I mean, they lost 4-1, but they were all within the final possessions. And it's that 3-pointer going in on that possession that you needed to. You remember seeing Duncan Robinson have 2 wide open looks, missing them both. You've seen Jimmy Butler have two looks after the phantom, 3-point foul call that we watched last night. That doesn't fall. And the other thing about the double digit losses, people will say, well, they're a 1 seed. They're not supposed to lose by double digits. This NBA, guys, losing by 10 is like losing by 4 in college. You know, like that's how fast points are scored, you know, and that's just how quickly foul calls happen and different things. A 10-point loss is not, you know, it's not something that's super rare that a 1 seed wouldn't see. So you're muted. So now you are.
All right, my bad. I disagree with the homie Los, man. He said that.
I do
Now
too.
I agree with the first one. He said the
I do
Heat were
too.
outmatched.
I do too.
The final score of the final game being misleading was not like that game.
Mhm.
Miami. I mean, shout out to Jimmy Butler. I think the ankle was a little bit more of a deterrent than we know. Maybe we'll hear him having some type of. I guess it's just rest. I don't think he need to have any type of surgery on it, but I don't think the explosiveness was there. I don't think the lift was there. I think he had a lot of opportunities where he got into the paint, had a chance to maybe try to get off a jumper, and he couldn't do it. He would kick it back out. But I mean, Jimmy got that game. That was a 3-point game.
Yeah.
Right. It's 3-point game with under 30 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I mean, we agree with you on this, Low. So he says in 99 games, the Heat win 20. Absolutely. We absolutely agree with you. In 99 games, the Heat are going to win them. They're going to get because of who they are. Yeah, man, will they get 20? I think so. If they played 100
But I
times,
mean, that's 1 out of every 5. That's the same thing they basically just did. You know, for some reason, he didn't want to make the math easy on us. But but I do think in 99 games that he get 20. But I think in 80 of those games, it comes down to a 1 or 2 possession game. So like
absolutely
outmatched is one thing. If we're talking coaching, I'm taking Spoelstra.
Big picture, yes. I think Spoelstra's track record and his resume is too extensive for me to take Michael Malone over him. But I do have to give Michael Malone credit. He knew the right buttons to push for this team. Including that would include benching Michael Porter at key points when Michael Porter was not having a good game and rolling with the Bruce Brown.
And the Christian Brown and
I mean, Christian Brown was getting a rookie, right? Getting major minutes down the stretch. And so, I have to give the kudos to them because, like we said, we watched the game together last night at the sports bar. And like you said, every time the Heat, they were up, 10, I think at some point, almost either 8 or 10.
They went on a 31-13 run or something like that there in the second quarter. Looked like they were going to take off with it.
Yes, and again, this speaks to that resiliency. I think the largest margin of defeat for the Nuggets during this run was a 7-point loss. I think it was either to the Timberwolves in overtime or it might have been the Suns. But that was the largest margin of defeat because it did not matter what you did. They always seemed to be able to flip a switch, so to speak, and be able to cut that lead down and put game pressure on their opponents. Tyler Hero did not play. I thought he did. I thought he came in for a second, but he did not play last night. I think the broken hand, he just was not ready. Shout out to the homie Los who asked that question. He did not play last night. And one thing I will give kudos to as well, I feel like the NBA, I know there was a lot of talk about nobody's going to watch a Heat Nuggets finals. Nobody's going to care. I don't know why we do this with the NBA. We don't do it with any other sport. For some reason, we get to pocket watching the ratings. I know NBA PR said it was one of the most.
We do it with basketball. We do it with college basketball, I think.
Really? I mean.
Yeah, we talked about it in UConn and San Diego State.
I mean, but I feel like in the NCAA, that matters a lot more.
Yeah.
Because like you want your Carolinas, Kansas, Dukes, UCLA's, like you're wanting those teams to be there because it will affect the ratings. And I think you saw that with the Final Four.
You don't think Lakers and Celtics ratings would have been?
So here's the thing, right? The ratings for this particular series.
Yeah, of course they would have. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Bam, Butler, and Hero were all averaging over 20 points a game, I believe. You know, like to have another guaranteed 20 points a game from a guy like Hero who's not just a Duncan Robinson running off screens and shooting threes or whatever. Like the guy he's not on Jamal Murray's level, but he can get to those spots and hit those fadeaways, knock down, free throws, get to the bucket.
So for those who were listening on podcast, the homie Los chimed in and said he was saying that if Tyler Hero played, then they probably would have fared better, which is a fair point, right? Because like you said, those bench guys who are playing extra minutes also get a chance to rest. And I think that's a factor too. Denver's bench, Denver, if they wanted to, they both were running short rotations, but if Denver needed to, they had a deeper bench to tap into that could play more minutes than he could, right? I mean,
if they had Hero, they'd have lost in 6. I mean,
maybe. Because I mean, it all depends. It depends on how hot he is from 3 and how well he is defensively. If you can afford to keep him on the floor down the stretch. So, but now the point I was making about the NCAA, like I don't want to lose that point, is like, about the NBA, I'm sorry, is that the ratings for this finals was very similar to last year's, which had Golden State and Boston, right? So Golden State, large market San Francisco, but historically not a great team, but you have a top 3 most marketable player in the league in Steph Curry, right? You got Boston, big market, glamour franchise, and the ratings were similarly better throughout the entire series. I think they took a dip in game 4, but other than that, they matched last year's series. So here's the thing, like if you play a good brand of basketball, if you play an interesting brand of basketball, people are going to, in my opinion, people are going to tune in. And I feel like that was proven last year when you didn't have LeBron. And really Steph was really the only of the kind of like the legacy big names. He was the only kind of guy that was there throughout the entire run. And you had people who tuned in and watched the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies and some of these other upstart teams. And you had people's attention. So if it's good basketball, and I want to say this too, I wish people would stop saying that the Nuggets are boring.
Yeah, they're not.
Los told you to turn the TV off.
I got money invested into this hockey final right here. Vegas just got scored on.
Are they losing?
Nah, it's 2-1. It's 2-1. We're up 2-1.
We're up 2-1.
Yeah, we.
No, you're the tenor.
I just came from Vegas. I'm Golden Knight, bro. VGK on mine.
Okay, sure. Enjoy. But now, like, I wish people would stop saying that they're boring. They're not a highlight team. Like, you have probably, if he's not the best player in the game, he's top 2 or 3 in Jokic. I saw a stat that basically Jamal treats the regular season as, like, I'm going to make this Dragon Ball Z reference again. He treats the regular season as his hyperbaric time chamber to prepare for the postseason because his numbers jump immensely from regular to postseason. He's like a 16, 17 per game point per game score in the regular season, and in the playoffs it jumps to 25. Assists jump up about 2 per game. 3-point percentage jumps up about 4 or 5 percentage points per game. Like he turns into
Jimmy Butler. I mean,
okay. Yeah. So he turns into a different player. Aaron Gordon's a high flyer. When Michael Porter Jr., who, boy, if they hadn't won this series, you want to talk about a GOAT, and not in a greatest of all time, but scapegoat, he would have gotten killed because shooting wise, he had a terrible performance. He had the great little behind or between the legs move. That was your move, by the way. He got that from you, the little back.
I mean, he played in Missouri a little bit, so I'm probably sure, he probably was in Kansas City a couple times back in the days. It was like,
Yeah. So, he got the little between the legs move on the way for the layup, but he had a terrible series shooting wise. I get it. There aren't a lot of great personalities, right? And normally you want your best player to be a big personality. If this was Joel Embiid, the media would love it. They would be eating it up. But Jokic does not care at all for the spotlight. I think Kevin Durant, for some reason, he deleted the tweet, but he put it best. All that dude wants to do is play basketball, go home, be with his family, and kick it with the horses. Like, that's it.
He really does.
And
does.
I'll say this. I don't understand why people want him to be like, we should.
It's so funny because you remember when Anthony Edwards was being drafted number 1, like the big thing was like, does he care about basketball enough? You know what I mean? And it was like, we don't want to take Anthony Edwards at number 1 if he doesn't care about basketball enough. But when it's Jokic, it's like, oh, he doesn't care about basketball. Like, like this is fascinating,
Listen, and that's the thing. I feel like I'm gonna say this point. Jokic we should all empathize with Jokic because Jokic, all he wants to do is do his job, go home. Like 95% of people in this country.
Yeah.
Granted, he's spectacular at it. And I mean, look, I feel like I'm really good at my job. I've gone to great lengths to make sure that things have been handled and done in a satisfactory way at my job. But at the end of the day, I want to be at the crib with the family. I want to be on vacation with the family or with the homies. I want to be doing a lot of different things other than working. And I enjoy what I do and I'm good at it. And that's something I feel like we should take pride. Like we should look at that and go, this is our people.
Yeah.
This is our people. The other point I want to make about Jokic is maybe he's just an introvert, bro. And maybe he just ain't listen.
Facts.
As a fellow introvert, it may not seem like it because I do a podcast weekly, but I am an introvert and I have no problem sitting at home by myself or even in public and simply ignoring what is happening around me.
He ain't lying, y'all. He is not lying.
Listen, A Ward, when we go out and kick it, A Ward is the talker. I'm the listener. I have no problem just sitting there and letting him chat people up and they chat us up and I say something every 5 or so minutes and I go back to being in my own world. Maybe that's just Jokic. He don't want to talk. He just want to go kick it, like I said, be with his
You know what, though? Like, I mean, I think when people say the Nuggets play a boring brand of basketball, it's not that they play a boring brand of basketball. Man, that's tough to say. But they should come out with they should actually trade that and do like BBB, you know, and I think they could have shoes and everything. Boring brand of basketball. That would be kind of fire. But it's not that. Is it? I think that they score boring, right? So it's not like the basketball's fun, right? And then it's a 2-point shot, you know, bank shot or something like that, or it's when you had the Warriors, you know, you obviously have Steph Curry 30-foot threes, but then you even have slash into the basket, backdoor cuts, these crazy finishes, different thing, up and down basketball or whatever. You know, that's very true. I do get the fact that I don't shut up talking from my mama. I love her to death. And you know, so I just think that I think that what it comes to is I actually enjoy watching the Nuggets play basketball. You know, especially how they had to kind of cut into that zone that Miami put on during the finals. You know, and in high basketball IQ, you know, passing and cutting and stuff. But I just think that they score boring 2-point shots, and I think you know they don't got guys that are dunking on you. None of them guys. I think I saw Bruce Brown on a fast break after a steal, and even that dunk looked, you know, boring. You know,
it was like a rub dunk. Like it wasn't emphatic, right?
Yeah. So I think that that's kind of what people were saying, but they actually play a very fun style to watch.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to hit some of these comments that came in. Get your bars up. Media said, where do you rank Joker all time amongst centers?
Top 7, I think. I got him in top 7.
I would have to actually do some research on this, get your bars up and come back to that.
This is in no order, but Wilt, Shaq, Kareem, Olajuwon, Tim Duncan. Oh, he's a power forward.
I mean, he's a center for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to be listed.
That's 5 that I don't think he's over.
I
Moses
think
Malone.
Yeah, Moses Malone is going to be. I think Willis Reed. Like, I would have to cut the list down to modern era because, like, I didn't see Willis Reed play. I didn't see.
Did I say Kareem? Yeah, I think I said Kareem.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Shaman, Russell, Will. Like, I didn't see. I caught later Kareem. I would say probably somewhere between 7 to 10, just off the top of my head, because again, it's kind of hard to talk about a lot of those guys that are from the 50s and 60s when we were obviously not alive. So,
man, it's a different position. Yeah, let's go 3-1. All right, missed the goal. Gosh, see, you guys you're literally like distracting me from watching my team. Man, come on now, what the heck?
I'm sorry I cut into your hockey time as a diehard puckhead over here.
Right into my mother.
But I think that's an interesting topic to have.
Greatest Nugget of all time.
Man, I still don't know if I want to put him over Melo, Alex English, Dan Issel. I think you get a lot of cachet for bringing them that first.
Should have 3 MVPs. Now, I'm not gonna say should because that's all hindsight. Had he lost, we would have been, man, he should. We would have been like, oh, Embiid,
Yep, yep,
So,
yep.
so back-to-back MVPs, Finals MVP, 5 All-Star games in the first 6 years? How long has he been in the league? 6, 7 years?
I think it's been 6 or 7. Let me make
Yeah.
sure I get this right. Let's see.
I bet the Denver Nugget fans say he's the greatest Nugget of all
Yeah,
time.
they
I
probably.
bet you that.
You know what? Well, see, I don't know if that's fair because, like, in our society, everything is the greatest thing ever, right? Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's kind of hard to even quantify it from that standpoint. I mean, he's top 3. I think that's easy. I think that's an easy assessment. He's top 3. Looks like he's been in the league since. Yeah, we're talking 5 years.
So he's been an All-Star every year?
Not every year. I think. Well, dang. God, dog, did he ever? Hold on. No, let's play. I'm sorry. He's been in the league long that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 years. He probably gets to be an all-star starting either the 2020, 2019, 2020.
41st pick, second round, right? 41st pick,
Yep,
second round.
Yep. And I mean, like, I know people try to make he's not an athlete, but I mean, like, guys, like, I get it. He's not like jumping out the gym, but you don't get to be that guy without being a pretty decent athlete. He's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time most valuable player, 3-time All First Team, 2-time second team All NBA. So yeah, I mean, like, you don't get to be that guy.
Ooh, he's 3-time All-Time, 3-time All. Okay, nice. That's a good.
Yeah, so he's building quite a resume for himself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for sure. I'll have to do some more research though and figure out. Sorry, the Mellow Army is chiming in. And get your bars upset. He's the undisputed greatest Nugget of all time.
Talk.
All right, we'll see. All right, so let's anything else you want to say about the NBA Finals before I jump into this?
I would like to say that I, A. Ward, am stating today the Nuggets will repeat next year and win back-to-back Finals championships.
Hold on, let me give you the ISO. Let me see if I can do this right because then what I want to clip this up. I'm going to clip this down, and then, like, if somehow this happens, right, I'm going to, like, post this in a tag Bleacher Report. Like, yo, my guy said this the day after they won the championship. So let me see if
why I gotta say it again for him. Just say the same thing.
No, because he got it.
You don't want to be in the picture?
No, I don't want to be the picture. I want this to be just you. You get the solo screen. So, Ward, say that again.
I, A. Ward, greatest battle rapper of all time, am stating this is for a Bleacher Report, right? So if it does go viral, I need them to know. I'm stating that the Denver Nuggets will repeat as NBA champions next year, 2023, 2024. It's going to happen, y'all.
All right, Los told you. Well, I mean, Los, don't tempt him with a good time here, please.
Hey, I just got back from Vegas. Los. If you're giving me odds, Los, we could throw them down.
Los said put something on it for the podcast squad. Trust me, he's like a couple of bets away from needing to call 1-800-BETS off. Do not tempt him with a good time here, people. All right, so I'll ask you one. Actually, I want to ask one last question about the Heat. Should the Heat run it back with this team?
Well, they get Hero back. They were better than an 8 seed, but they were an 8 seed. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you are what you are, from the regular season. I mean, Hero played a good portion of the regular season. So they get Hero back, but I think that they're going to need to add somebody. They're going to need to re-sign Gabe Vincent, I believe. Max Strus can probably go. He was key to it, but I'm thinking if you're going to lose Vincent or Max Strus, you probably lose Max Strus. And then I think they're just going to need one more guy. I know we talked last night about, I don't know if Kyle Lowry is still going to be there, but, replacing Kyle Lowry.
Huh? One more year. He has one more year on his deal.
Okay, yeah. The Van Vliet obviously just decided to be a free agent. You're going to have a lot of guys, Chris Paul, different guys that are possible to add. But it just seemed to me like that when the ball needed to be in somebody's hands, it was always Jimmy Butler, and you knew that, whereas, Jamal Murray could have brought it up and they could have worked through Jokic and there could have been other guys cutting, but it was always Jimmy Butler. And I'm just wondering how many possessions would have looked different if you'd have had I mean, Hero, yeah, but if you'd have had, another guy that could have got you a bucket in that time.
Yeah, yeah. So this comment from Get Your Bars Up: the Heat are one superstar away from winning the chip. Now, true. However,
Aren't we all? I mean, the Nugget only got one superstar, right? I mean, Jamal Murray's probably becoming one. We're talking about superstars.
Jamal Murray's probably a playoff superstar. I mean, the way he's performed. But
yeah.
So here's the thing about that, though. Like, I think the Heat probably are in a position where they need to try to run it back with their current squad because they can't get a superstar. The way the CBA is set up, teams who are over the luxury tax are limited in their options in their ability to have signing trades to get a superstar, the draft picks they can send out, even on the buyout market after the trade deadline, when certain players are getting bought out because teams are out of contention, they're not going to keep them for the future. They can't even do that. So they're going to have to try to re-sign the majority of this roster, hope that that Tyler Hero is healthy, can take the next step, and that these guys can play for 82 games the way they did for the 20 or so odd games they had during this postseason. So, but that leads me to an interesting segue because Damian Lillard was on a podcast recently, and he was asked a question about where he would like to go. So I'm going to see if I can grab this file. Of course, let's see if it's going to work with me here. Let's see. See if it'll work.
You read
4-1. Let's
online, you hear these analyst talks. Everybody keeps saying Damian Lillard is going to be traded to the Knicks. Damian Lillard's going to be traded to the Heat. Damian Lillard should be traded to the Celtics. Damian Lillard's going to be traded to the Nets. If one of those trades went through, out of those teams, which one would you be like, that's not too bad?
Miami, obviously. Miami is
like, let me pause it right there. Was that laugh really necessary?
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
I get it, Damian laughed, but I feel like sometimes in the media, like to try to make the person that you're interviewing feel comfortable, like you kind of go a little bit over the top. And I mean, just like, oh, okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Like, all right, anyway, continue.
the obvious one. And Bam is my dog. Bam is my dog for real. But I mean, I think Miami the obvious one. Brooklyn is another obvious one because Mikal Bridges is my dog too. So I mean, and both are have capable rosters.
So that's Damian Lillard on the Last Stand podcast with Brian. Oh boy. Brian Kushner, he does he's part of the boxing team that they have there at Showtime. So Brian Custer, I believe is his name. So yeah, so he is talking about his where he would like to go potentially if he was traded. So that leads me to say, first off, why is it in an era where KD and LeBron are slandered mercilessly for ring chasing, for not doing it the right way, right? Dag nabbit, I can never get this right. I can't. There we go. The right way. I can never get it right. The right way. Anyway, where they're slandered for not doing it the right way, why is it we are so eager to see Dame go chase a ring? Because I thought the thing is you go stick with a team for you're loyal, and if you win, you win. You don't, you don't.
Okay, well, the reason is because he was that, and that's the reason. It's because like KD and LeBron didn't show that character, in their, they didn't show that, I'm staying here. I need people put around me. And we look at Blazers like he was there for as long as he could have been, you know what I mean? And like now it's like we don't blame him for finding another place, And I don't think he's out here saying like, I want to be traded. I need to ring chase. I think people are speculating, he's just answering the questions honestly, like, hey, Miami, Brooklyn. But he even said if Miami won a championship that he wouldn't want to go there. I think he even said that. And, so he's speaking of teams that did not end up winning a championship, teams that, he's got friends on or whatever. Josh Hart responded, I thought I was a dog. Like, Come on, Josh. Come on, Josh. Really, bro? Like you're not Mikael Bridges, and you're not Bam
I mean,
Adebayo.
but he was a teammate. He was in Portland before he got traded to New York this season. So I mean, yeah, I thought used to be my homie, used to be my ace. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I thought we was cool. I thought we was boys. Now, as far as KD and LeBron, they weren't loyal to the soil. KD was in OKC for 9 years / Seattle for 9 years. LeBron was in Cleveland for 7. Like I don't like, man. Listen, let Damian Lillard stay in Portland. Everybody's not going to win a championship. You know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be great players, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, who likely will never win. Chris Paul, likely never going to win a title. Melo, never won a title.
But you also remember LeBron did the decision, and KD joined the greatest basketball team of all time. Like we're not talking like Dame Lillard is talking about possible destinations. Like those two guys got a lot more hate after the decision and how he went about it, leaving to go to South Beach, and then KD literally watching the greatest basketball team play ever and say, "I'm joining y'all after you win a championship." A lot of the hate came from those.
Okay, fair enough. But I mean, there's no super team anymore. And I feel like, as a quick aside, I feel like that's the great lesson that I feel like NBA teams need to really learn. I've said it several times on the show. You don't need to have a trio of incredible players on one team anymore. You watch what Boston has done with their two guys. You look at what Phoenix did with Paul and Booker, right? And then Ayton kind of as a half on that. Giannis and Middleton. And again, you want to throw in Drew Holiday as another half asset. Like you're watching these teams do it with 2.5 men, if you will, pardon the pun, right? But you're watching them do it with 2.5, great / superstar players, and they're
5-1. The over has been hit. It was 5.5. 5-1. Let's go Vegas. Keep going.
So I think that you don't need to have a superstar player. Now, unfortunately for Portland, they've tried. Hasn't been for lack of trying. It's just that none of the assets that the players that they brought in have worked out. They tried bringing in like a Jeremy Grant, right? They tried to be in on the trades for James Harden and Kawhi and other players, and it just hasn't worked out for them. They had the number 3 overall pick. If for whatever reason Charlotte foolishly drafts Scoot Henderson instead of Brandon Miller, you got Brandon Miller, who again people have equated to being Paul George. Now, do you get that?
I like this foolish talk that you're talking about. You think it would be foolish to take Scoot Henderson over Brandon Miller?
You got Melo. What do you need Scoot Henderson for? You have a lead guard who has a high usage rate, who needs the ball in his hands to be successful. So why would you go get Scoot? Now, I guess there's an element of, your turn, my turn, that could happen there. But if you're saying, so again, look at Denver as the model, right? Granted, Jokic, great center. Jamal Murray turns into another player come playoff time. But look at the wings, right, that they had on that team with size and height. You got Jeff Green. You got Bruce Brown. You got Christian Brown, right? You have Michael Porter Jr. Just a plethora of wings that one helps you defensively in their ability to switch and match up with no matter who has the ball, who has some level of good to great jumpers on them, right? Go and get Brandon. If the Hornets do what I consider to be a bad decision to take Scoot, not that I don't think Scoot's going to be good, but you have a wing player who has, at worst, his first years can be an excellent 3 and D guy for you. Defense, 3-pointers, if he does nothing else for you, until you grow offensively into his game. You have something to build with Dame, and you potentially have the torch that could be passed from Dame to the next generation. So that's why I say, so if they end up getting that, or maybe if they can package that number 3 pick to go get, I don't know. James Harden. I personally wouldn't want James Harden at this stage of his career, but I don't know who you could package that number 3 pick with.
Portland, don't ask me how I know this. Top 3 cities per capita strip clubs.
We're going to talk offline about how you came about this information. Like because that's just a really random, and I feel like someone definitely gave you that information. I don't feel like
I went to a bachelor party in Portland. I didn't say I went to a strip club. I went to a bachelor party in Portland. This was part of the conversations.
Okay.
As we passed each one on our way to Dave and Buster's.
I have a joke there. I'm going to leave that between me and the Lord. All right. So, like I said, I just don't get why people want this guy to be traded so bad. Like, let Dame stay where he is. And here's the other part. If you trade Dame, like, where are you going to take him that's going to not be another Portland? I guess that's the other part of it. People want him gone so bad, but where can he go? I mean, the Lakers? But the Lakers, have mortgaged all their first-round draft picks to high heaven to get Anthony Davis and to get some of these other players, to get Russell Westbrook and the like. What are they giving up? Then they're going to have to sacrifice depth. And to me, you're back in the same situation with the aging LeBron James, maybe Anthony Davis, because I would be asking for – I wouldn't – all due respect to Austin Reeves. I'm not getting Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura back for Dame Lillard. Like, Anthony Davis has to be a part of this package somehow, some way. So, I mean, what's going to be there when he walks through the door? I said something pause-worthy. I don't know. I don't.
Mama just out here pausing people. Look, hey.
Yeah, I'm not pausing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm letting it fly. I'm letting it fly. Anyway, I'm about to be shot to Pat Stay, man. Long live Pat Stay. I'm about to be on my Pat Stay. I'm just letting it all hang out. I'm saying not on purpose as much as Pat was.
Can we please make sure that the title of this is not the pause show? Let's keep our integrity and let's move forward.
All right. So I'll ask you, what team do you think that Dame should go to? And we'll move on to the NFL real quick.
I like the Brooklyn Nets. I like that. I like the Brooklyn Nets.
I just don't think that makes them. What's the difference between? I
just selfishly want to be in New York City so that he can rap more.
I mean, if he's going to be anywhere, see, this is where them getting Jalen Brunson, shout out to Jalen Brunson, great year, hurts the Knicks. Like, I would love to have the Knicks and
I would
in the big state, because the problem with Brooklyn is no one's going to care. They had Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden, and we all focused on the drama. That's all we cared about. We didn't care about the basketball until, his size 18 shoe was on the line and kept them from going to the NBA Finals. Like, so if he's going to go someplace, I want him to go to.
So you think it's weird? I know about Portland, and not the fact that you know what size shoe Kevin Durant wears.
So that's because they mentioned it. And I feel like so here's the thing, right? Because I believe he's a size 17 in shoe, but for some reason he wears an 18. And I think because they wear basketball players at their level wear multiple pairs of socks.
Yeah.
So he wears an 18. And so had he been wearing a 17, he might be an NBA champion with the Brooklyn Nets. And that whole little experiment doesn't get blown up. So I feel fairly confident that in all this, sports stuff that I listen to and hear, that is why I know he wears a size 18.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough. By the way, we should have a vote on this. More random, knowing that Portland has more strip clubs per capita than any other city in the nation, or knowing that Kevin Durant wears a size 18. I feel like that's a poll question because I feel like I'm going to win that.
I know which one's not getting paused. So I know that much.
All right. So let's jump into this NFL story real quick, and then we'll get into Nome Impact. So
6-1. Let's go. All right, it's over. It's a wrap. Chase Burns, finger slash. Let's go.
NFL Colts player Isaiah Rodgers placed hundreds of bets on games, including games he plays for the Colts, including his own team's games. So the investigation is still ongoing. He's going to get at least a year if he doesn't receive a lifetime ban, because this is the first instance we've seen of an actual player betting on his own team. And so I have a proposition that about gambling, because here's a couple of facts about the NFL and gambling. Sports gambling is legal in 21 states where 15 NFL teams play. The NFL has partnered with 3 sports betting sites, Caesars, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Robert Kraft and Jerry Jones are investors in DraftKings, and this past offseason, the owners voted to allow sports betting at stadiums where sports betting obviously is legal. So, with all of that being said, I want to get your take on something. I believe that the NFL should allow players to gamble on games, both NFL and otherwise. So they have this foolish rule about you can gamble on certain other things, but you cannot gamble on team property. So, like if you wanted to place a bet on golf, right? If you want to place a bet on golf, you can do it in the parking lot. You can do it across the street. But once you walk in the doors of the facility, you cannot place that bet. It's, to me, that's very stupid. And they have some other, kind of rules about what you can and can't bet on. But I believe that the NFL should allow players to gamble on games because you have owners who are partnering with it. You're going to allow it at the stadium where they can't do it, by the way. You're going to allow this to happen at the stadium. It's legal for 15 NFL franchises already. It's going to grow. I think it's going to happen here in Missouri. If not this year, maybe next year. They're going to legalize gambling. Let them bet. They can't, at 2 games before the game kicks off, betting windows close. And you can't bet on your own games. You can't. So that's the one thing they cannot do. You cannot bet on your own team's games. But all your bets are public. We have to have these bets be public, because it can't be on the low, because there's already enough crying, and crying is not the right word, enough accusations about gambling and whether or not people are on the take. You see, especially when it comes to referees and agendas, right? Like, for example, the Chiefs with the late hit by Joseph Asai against Patrick Mahomes. A bunch of people, erroneously, falsely, wrongly claim, oh man, the NFL's got it in for Patrick Mahomes. They want to see him shine. Right? So there's already enough allegations about match fixing as it is. Allow them to bet on games. It cuts off 2 days before the game actually starts, and they all have to be public. Your reaction to that?
Yeah, I'm not. Once you got to, you can't bet on games that you play in. Obviously, I didn't know you were gonna go there, and I was just ready to be like, "Are you crazy?" I'm not too mad at that, actually. I do think like you shouldn't be able to bet on futures. You shouldn't be able to bet on different things that you can directly affect. You know what I mean? So whether if it's a game that you can't directly affect the outcome or whatever, that's one thing. But if it's like I'm betting on the Broncos to win the the AFC West or whatever, and you play against the Broncos that year, you shouldn't be able to be tied to anything that you could directly affect. And I do like the idea of like the public. I think it brings an interesting aspect to it as a person maybe that possibly gambles. I don't know, I've tried it before, but like to look up and be like, Peyton Manning's got money on the Colts this weekend, or Jalen Hurts is betting on the Chiefs to beat the Raiders. Like, that's my favorite player. I'm gonna see his, what his bet is or whatever, and I'm gonna, maybe he knows something type stuff. I think that's interesting because we do that with all the shows that we watch. That we allow like Scott Van Pelt and some of the shows that come on that are specific to sportsbook. We allow their opinion and we see their public. You should take this or you should take that, or I'm taking that kind of stuff. And these are guys are not that were heavily invested in sports and know people that interview people. So I'm not mad at that. It's very, very interesting. I don't know if it'll get there, but
no, it'll never get there. They're not again, because the integrity of the game, right? Like they're always talking about, but again, so the game last night, right? You have the foul that's challenged on by Aaron Gordon against Jimmy Butler, and they called it a foul, which to me, I said it to you in that moment. I'm like, if that's a foul, then every play on every possession, a foul happens, because like Jimmy Butler kicked his leg out for Aaron Gordon to run into it, which thank God the Heat lost. All that flopping, you deserve to lose. Like have some dignity. Have some dignity. Why don't you, man? Like, come on. Anyway, but like if that's a foul, then everything's a foul. And there were lots of people after that happened. Adam Stern, Adam Stern, he made a call like they want this series to continue for money, for ratings, for da. This is, again, the NFL is not immune to this thing. Like the whole script thing, which kind of took off.
Hey, you did a good job that time.
I'm getting there. I'm starting to figure out where the camera is.
All right.
But the whole script thing that took off, I think after the Chiefs won? I forget what the script, but that whole talk that kicked up about it being rigged and about it being scripted and that all this stuff is, and some obviously there's that's a joke, but there's a little bit of truth and every bit of kidding as well. So, I don't know, man. Like I feel like that is something that the league should look to invest in and allow players to do. Let them gamble. Let them. Why not? Why not? You guys are partnering with it. The league is making money off of it. It's like having, a kid who enjoys chocolate cake and saying, oh yeah, we're going to have this cake over here that we're going to be splitting up amongst all these other people. I know you love cake as well, but you can't have any. And it's just like, well, why? Why can't?
Yeah, I definitely think the vested interest in the promoting of like all of the DraftKings and fantasy football and all that kind of stuff is just wildly contradicting, to the views they have on these kids that are placing bets,
And I think it's nauseating. I honestly have found it to be, it's just over the top. Everything is brought to you by DraftKings. Just about every podcast, it's not true. One of the podcasts I listen to starts at some point, because DraftKings is a sponsor and has ads. Like at some point he's like over under for Jimmy Butler, over under for this. What's the spread? This happens on all the football shows. It's being pushed. It's in your face 24/7. And I'm just like, like 7 years ago, I would have loved the idea of being able to drive to Kansas and place a bet on a football game. And now it's just like, I literally work 5 minutes from Kansas and I'm like, I'm good. I have no interest. I'm not, no, I don't know. And I don't know what happened to me, but that's just where I am with it. Like I'm good on placing bets. It's just not my thing anymore. So, I mean,
Me either.
I don't know. No. Yeah. As we see. What's the score again?
6-1. That's kind of crazy. Closeouts game 6-1. Let's go.
I mean, Vegas was the better team. Shout out to Florida. They had a great, again, Miami, another 8 seed with a great run, but they ran up against a better squad.
Facts.
So, and Matt,
and you know the old saying, Vegas always wins.
Yeah. Is it Matt Kachuk? It's not Matt Kachuk. What's the young man's name? I know it's Keith Kachuk's son. He's hurt. He's not playing tonight.
Oh.
I think it is Matt Kachuk. Now you got me looking this up. Yeah, it's Matthew Kachuk. So anyway, let's get into battle rap now. Let's jump into that. All right. So this weekend, Nome Impact went down. This is one of URL's signature brand events, Summer Impact being the other large brand event that went down. And so they obviously, as we talked about before, they decided to mix it up. They had 2-on-2 teams. All throughout the event, there was a surprise battle. I don't know how many of these battles you got to see in its entirety. I know you were on vacation, so then that makes it even harder to tap in, watch battles. So I will ask you this then. I want to start with, I watched or listened to the majority of the battles. I went back and watched the main event, Gun Orthodox versus Rocky Geechee in its entirety. I watched, and I also sat and watched Miss Hustle. I think it was Godbody, Miss Hustle, Danny Myers versus Wild Card, which is Jerry West and Lou Castro. In part because I heard they had from what I heard, I like what I was hearing from West and Lou Castro, and I heard they had a really good performance as well. So I want to ask you a couple of questions because Hollow and Kyle, who took on Shotgun, Suge, and Old Red, they were widely panned for their performance. I think the consensus is Shotgun Suge did his job. Everyone else was not up to par. I don't know if you heard about this. Old Red, he was getting to his third, and he asked the crowd, "Do y'all want to hear me rap this?" They told him no, allegedly. And he said, "All right, I'm done." And that was the end of the round. But Kyle said that, Hollow said that he felt like he was not given enough appropriate time to prep time for the battle. Said he got 3 weeks. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. How much prep time should leagues give battle rappers? 2-part question. One, for a 2-on-2, and then for a solo 3-round battle.
Good question. I think that if you're talking about a battle that you want, the best possible outcome, material and everything for your battle, that you should know a month ahead of time. You should know a month ahead of time. I think most battlers, can put together 3 solid rounds in 30 days and deliver them at, a high level in which they battle rap. The thing about it is this, though. Battlers have to have some accountability for signing the contract when they sign the contract and agreeing to the battles when they agree to the battles. Jazz is a great example. Jazz the rapper. Like, she is notorious for not taking battles if she doesn't have the prep time she feels she deserves. She won't do it, Now, look, her bills are paid, apparently, because I'm sure there's plenty of bags that have been offered to Jazz, you know what I mean? And she's like, no, I don't got the prep time. I don't need the money. I don't want, I'm not sacrificing, my brand, my material, and what I do on stage because you can't figure out how to set this up ahead of time. Shout out to Jazz. Not everybody's built like that. Some people need battle rap. Some people need battle rap money. Some people need, the notoriety, the buzz, the stage, the staying active, all of that kind of stuff. And I think you can tell when people start saying, yo, I'll do this battle. Sure. It's not what I really want, but it's always hindsight's 2020. Apollos and Calicos would have went out there and it would have been a crazy reception and they would have got busy. We would have probably never heard this from Hollow to Don. It's just what happened is it's the other way around, and it went public because it was the other way around, like that's a conversation that, you can go back and you could tell them, look, I'm not happy with the reception of this battle. I'm not happy what they're saying online about me. I'm not gonna go out here and say this, but look, URL, like I'm not doing this no more, like this is not what it is, but I also do think that, going public about it is hopefully giving some accountability to URL. But at the end of the day, some leagues know when they're going to have their events and you get a good ample amount of time. And URL has not been that league lately. I know I have tons of friends, that, 2-3 weeks before the event, they're releasing, who's battling, but they don't even have the card filled yet. They don't have the, they don't have any of that kind of stuff, taken care of yet. And so, they don't have flight spot. They don't have, hotels booked and different things like that. So it has got to be frustrating, but it's also like, yo, like you wanted to be on Nome Impact, you wanted to be able to say you were on Nome, and you accepted the battle. If you can't do it, if you don't think you can give your best product, don't accept the battle.
Fair enough.
I wouldn't take a week, a battle on King of the Dot or RBE or Chrome or anything like that on a week or 2 week notice. I wouldn't. I'll go smoke anybody in any city on any small leagues in a week or 2 week notice because I know, that I can use what I do very, very well in those rooms, and perform at a high clip for them in those situations within 7 days notice. That does not go the same for what it takes to battle on these big stages in front of big crowds with high risk, big platforms, making sure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted.
Fair enough. So, let me jump to another battle. So I'm gonna go Av and Fonz versus T-Top and Swamp. Now I do think that shout out to Hitman. I do think this battle's gonna look a little different on Cam versus what happened in the building. Av and Fonz, I think, were heavy favorites in this matchup because of their ability as punchers, because of what happened against Lou Castro and K-Shine, right, which people thought was one of the best battles of the year, period, across the battle rap landscape when it happened. But T-Top and Swamp, charismatic, had jokes, some good punches, some good angles they took against Av and Fonz, and people have them clearly winning that battle, right? So off of that, I want to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think makes for a good 2-on-2 team?
Well, I mean, the variables in 2-on-2 are huge. Like Av and Fonz battled Lou and K-Shine in a small room around a whole bunch of battle rappers. People that catch things very quickly, people that know and understand the punchlines and things like that. you know, a room where you didn't have to project, you know, out over the crowd and different things like that. So those punchers, those guys like that are just known for punchlines and stuff like that, they were very successful in that type of room. You put it on top of that stage, you know what I mean? And when you get on that stage, you got to dance. You got to have pacing. You got to have performance. You got to have swag surfing app. You know, you got to have different things like that up there. And I'm sitting here listening to the clips that I watched, and I did catch a few of them. And I'm sitting here listening to punchlines. And the same went for Rum Nitty and Twerk at times. The punchlines are crazy. And maybe in a one-on-one battle set up the right way, that bar drops the building. But in a two-on-two battle, if it's just another punchline, it's not really doing for the crowd what it's supposed to do, you know? I remember when I battled Ill Will, I thought I had a lot of crazy material written, and I got some good reaction. But what set me apart was when the rebuttals hit and the energy was there and that kind of stuff. You know, when I put the bucket hat on and stormed the Capitol building, when I did different things on that big stage, you know, Crown Vic line against Vixen. That's the kind of stuff that you want in front of those big crowds, you know? And you want to be different. Everybody can get up there and rap and punchline, but there's just something about being different, you know? And like you said, I haven't seen T-Top and Swamp clips, so I can't speak to what they did as opposed to what Avon Fawns did. But yeah, I mean, a 2-on-2 team, like it's just such a different, from a big stage to a small stage, small room is just so different, you know? Like you can be lethal in the small room. You really can. You could be lethal in a small room with two great battle rappers. It don't matter. You could put two guys together randomly. If they're good, small room, just battle rappers around and some fans, it can go crazy. Those big stages, though, you got to be on that Loaded Hollow stuff. Whenever he was behind them, you know, and he was doing this, you know, you got to be, you know, dropping the coins, you know, the shell cases. Like that's 2-on-2 battle rap on big stage. DNA and K-Shine, gun titles. That's 2-on-2 battle rap on big stages. The BC segment from Nitty and Twerk, that's 2-on-2 battle
crazy
on big stages.
Was crazy,
right? Not just getting up there. You say 2 bars, I say 2 bars. You say this punchline, I say this punchline. You name flip him, you name flip. That stuff, that's not on that big stage.
Yeah, and so when you say that, I want to jump into giving some kudos to Jerry West and Lou Castro. Like I said, I was moving around, so I had the battles on listening. I was not watching, and so I wanted to go back and watch that performance in particular, in part for the contrast, because you could see that there was between Miss Hustle and Danny that they weren't as in sync, they weren't as coordinated as Lou Castro and Jerry West were, right? And Lou Castro already known for his performance, and I think he's getting even better in that aspect and in his ability to play off the crowd and get them into what they're doing. Although I would love to ask Lou Castro a question. I don't know if this actually happened or if he was just simply this was a part of the act. So during the third round, Jerry West has a ISO, right, where he's going at both Hustle and Danny, and you can clearly hear Lou Castro say, "This is not the round. This is not the round." Like he says it like 2 or 3 times. Now he doesn't say it loudly, right? But it's loud enough for the audio mics to pick it up that this not the round, this not the round. And then he finally interrupts after a certain bar. I can't remember the name of what bar, what punch that West has, but then he kind of interrupts. It's like, yo, like what you want, right? And then they go and sync together from there. But again, those two had a really good performance, playing off of Miss Hustle's, you know, attractiveness, playing off of Danny and his kids and the easy situation. Really good performance for them. I thought that the young newer guys, Swervo, excuse me, and
Authentic.
No, that's
no,
Authentic
She Happens.
Kid Slade. She Happens. Thank you. She Happens. I didn't have that in my notes because that was the surprise battle. So I didn't have that in my notes when I put this together last week. So I thought those guys did pretty well for their first. I feel like that's their first big stage, period. So I want to shout out those younger guys and give them kudos for what they were able to do, even being the first battle up. Normally, first battle gets a lot of love because everybody's excited to hear bars, but I thought they did pretty well as also. Hey, I'm with Mama Ward on this. At the 8 hours of 2-on-2, like time limits, 2.5, 3 minutes tops, guys. We don't. Shout out to Nitty and Twerk. amazing and from a technical written standpoint, really dope bars, really dope punches, but like the crowd, it's been 8 hours. Like they're tired, their feet are hurting, they're ready to go home at this point. Even when you have, you know, four of the premier battle rappers in the world on a stage, they're tired. So yes, time limits, because their rounds were incredibly long. And to me, even though I enjoyed it, they could have tailored that material down a little bit and cut out some of that stuff.
Hmm.
Last question I'll ask, and I'm trying to see. So I want to shout out DNA and John John. I think, you know, Flair, Soul, and Foots had a lot to say about these guys not being legend, or well, in particular John John not being a legend. Soul said DNA was boring during the face off. Right? They talked a lot about them to sell this fight, and DNA and John John were the I'm not gonna say the only ones who got a 30 for the night, but definitely a clear 30 in their performance. And I think Let's Talk Battle Rap in their recap had them as the top 2-on-2 team of the night from the event. And so I want to ask you this to close the show, or close out this segment. Is crafting material for a two-man team different than when, or how, I guess, compare and contrast the differences in crafting material for a two-man team versus a solo battle?
Yeah, definitely a lot of difference. You know, one is that everybody's got different writing styles and everybody's got different ways they like to deliver bars, and so you really have to you have to humble yourself, you know, to like trust your teammate, to like, hey, how he delivers lines and writes lines, it might be different. It might not be exactly how I would say it or what I want to say there or whatever. And you have to really humble yourself and be, okay, I trust my teammate that like he's at this level because he's that good in this way, you know. Let him do it his way. Let me write my way, and then we have to come to, you know, to an agreement to like, here's how we're going to deliver everything. And then you know, like there's lines that, you know, you might want to say the punchline, but it might be like, oh, we wrote it this way, and it's better if this guy says the punchline. You know, you just gotta really be in tune with what your teammates willing to do. I'm a risk taker in battle rap. You know, like, you know, Loso will tell you, Saga will tell you, different guys will tell you, like, I want to do different things. When me and Loso are prepping for 2-on-2 battles, I'm calling him like, yo, what this crazy idea? You know, let's do the part where, you know, you finish the sentence and we started this other way, and it's like, wait, what? You know what I mean? Like, and then it takes your teammate to be like, I trust you, you know. And it might be a situation where you get on teams with somebody that's, you know, is a little bit harder to work with. You know, if you don't have, you know, the ability or the time and effort to because you live in two different states or whatever, that stuff's different too. But like 2-on-2s are supposed to be an all-star game. They're supposed to be fun, you know? And so, writing for your opponents, like you gotta really hone in and get that chemistry. I think that's one of the big things that Loso and myself succeeded at, was like, just even on our first time ever being a 2-on-2, the chemistry that was there. We kind of know each other's writing style. We know where we're going. And yeah, it's not easy, but it's also a lot different than writing for a one-on-one battle, because you got two people thinking about name flips, two people thinking outside of the box. So
Yeah, and I want to close on this. Like, I know when we talked about Nome a couple of weeks ago, and I said, man, like, I'm not excited for this event. I was excited it's battle rap. I'm always excited to watch what you guys come up with, and the creativity and everything that comes up with it. And I couldn't put my finger on like why wasn't I excited? And I think you hit on something when I was thinking about, you know, the kind of the aftermath of the event or whatever, and thinking about discussing it for the show. I think it was the fact that 2-on-2s, like you said, are all-star games. And I feel like for me, Nome,
yeah,
in the battle rap group chat, when I asked this question, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it, like, which brand has produced the better content over the years? Has it been Nome or Summer Impact? And while I know URL says Summer Impact's a Super Bowl of battle rap, but I feel like
Summer Madness. But yeah, good.
Sorry, I'm looking at a Summer Impact flyer. Summer Madness is the Super Bowl of battle rap, but I feel like Nome as a brand, in terms of matchups with high stakes, matchups with high narrative content behind it, Nome has surpassed Summer Madness for me in that regard. I think you think about, when Geechee Gotti takes on Geechee Gotti takes on Surf at Nome. You have Lux and Verb at Nome. You have Surf on his return battle taking on Nitty. I feel like Goods Tay Rock. I think Daylight Tay Rock. You have all these different battles that had the culture going crazy, either up to or after the battle, whether it be for good or bad reasons. And I feel like Nome has produced the better content, it's produced the better storylines, had higher stakes attached to some of these battles. And then if you look at so I'm looking at the Summer Impact flyer, right? Like, no, this is no disrespect to the newer guys, but you look at the matchups on this card and it's all major names. Jazz and Official versus E Hart and 40. You got Marvin Quest, who are 2-2 GOATs, versus Suge and Nitty. Suge and Twerk. Goods and Clips versus John and oh gosh, Hitman. My bad. It's multiple remixes. Sorry, I'm not right. So you get EFB versus NWX, which to me is a classic 2-on-2. Unfortunately, the debacle that was Cal and Mook versus Briz and T Top. But then you have DNA. I'm sorry. You have Lux and Hollow versus Gun Titles, which ended up being, Guns and Cake with once Surf got locked up near the end. But look at the names I listed, right? We're talking Mount Rushmore guys. We're talking female GOATs, female greats. Like, there were no, in EFB, it's probably kind of the youngest, them in Dark Life, which was Briz and Top. Like, and even those guys are vets, but I feel like EFB was probably the only new stars on that card. Everyone else is YouTube era, grind time, smack DVD. You know what I'm saying? And so that's not a diss to the new guys, because I do want to shout out those new guys for getting Nome on their resume. And for those who took that time and took that moment, like I said, Swervo, She Happens, Kid Slade, Authentic. My first time ever seeing Authentic rap. I was impressed with what he did. I was again Jerry, and I feel like Jerry is probably going to end up on Summer Madness now. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to have a Nome and a Summer Madness on his resume in the same year. Dope for him. Lou campaigning for a Summer Madness after that performance. So I do want to shout those guys out, and I want to shout out Geechee, Tay Rock, and Gun Orthodox. Those guys, you have a tired crowd. It's been a long time, and they still put on, even though the crowd wasn't always there with them. I feel like the first round from Gun Orthodox, all three were dope, but I feel like that first round was crazy. The BC segment in the second was crazy. And then in the third, Geechee and Tay Rock basically just almost like a relay race. Tay Rock has like a 3-minute segment, and then Geechee follows it up with a 3-minute segment. Really dope, really good material that the crowd really enjoyed and they really ate up. So, man, I want to salute those guys for again, putting on for the crowd. They were high. Even that battle, right? It was very friendly, right?
That was a double impact card with a Nome headliner. I mean, that's what it was.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So, I mean, again, salute to those guys for putting on, man. I appreciate that. I do want to close the show. I want to make sure I get my I had this up for a long time. I forgot to take it down. I want to give my YouTube drop of the week to Cashflow Rizzy and Shuni the Rapper. This battle went down during I think it's the Pandemic 2. Was the name of the card from Bullpen Battle League. I'm completely guessing on that. I could have got it wrong.
It was the Pandemic, but I don't know if it was Volume 2. But yeah.
All right, let me make sure I get this right. Let me give Bullpen their just due and make sure I get it right. You're right. It was the Pandemic. It was not Pandemic 2. I think the Pandemic. There was supposed to be a Pandemic, but I think it got canceled.
Something like that.
So the Pandemic Bullpen Battle League, Cashflow Rizzy versus Shuni the Rapper. A dope back and forth between these two female MCs. I had Cashflow taking a third. I had Shuni taking the second. And to me, that first, it comes down to the first, which is debatable. I edged Shuni, but I could be convinced to edge it to Cashflow on the second watch. So again, if you go check it out on YouTube. This is brought to you by All Things Battle Rap. Follow them on Twitter at All Things Bat Rap. They post upcoming matchups and YouTube drops. If you guys really want to support the culture, get away from all the foolishness. I know the battle rap counter for foolishness has been reset to 0 after some of the events that have taken place post Nome Impact. But if you want to really support the culture, you want to support YouTube drops, go check out those 2 young ladies and support their work and support Bullpen Battle League. And with that, that has been our show. We appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Please remember, you can check out every episode of It's a Black and White Thing wherever you find the good podcast. You can check us out on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, and IG by searching at Brains and Bars. And I think that's it. I am awardmerch.com.
Shop. I'm awardshop.com.
I'll get it right at some point. I'm awardshop.com for all Award merch. Until next time, it's been a black
and white
thing, man. I guess go ahead and collect your winnings there. We're gonna put the Cash App up. So if you want to turn into a tips hotline, call Award. He's going to have all the over and unders for you for baseball season. He is 1-0 on the season. We're not going to count anything that happened during the Vegas trip. We're going to start today.
Start with Sunday. We started beginning this week. I haven't lost yet. I haven't lost this week yet.
He's undefeated. So call the hotline. He's got all the hot tips for you in terms of who to bet, overs and unders for baseball season. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys next week, man. Y'all be easy.
Deuces.